Hello everyone, the story I will tell you today is the story of a warm relationship between a foreigner from a distant country and a Korean. This is the story of how, despite being uncomfortable, visiting Korea changed my thoughts and outlook on life. I was deeply moved when I first heard this story, and I'm going to start now with the hope that you will feel the same way. A few years ago, I went to Daejeon, a Korean city, for work. Because I lost my left hand in an accident when I was young, I tend to have more difficulties than others in many areas. To me, Korea was something special. My first impression of Korea remains a very good memory for me. People always treated me warmly as a stranger, and approached me to satisfy my curiosity about the culture. One day in particular was a cold winter day. It was one of those days when I felt a little depressed, and traveling alone felt quite lonely. At that time, an incident on a small street in Korea remained a very special memory for me. On that day, decorations to welcome Christmas were being installed, one by one on the streets. While walking through a nearby mural alley, I suddenly heard a sound coming from a wall decorated with light bulbs. I was startled as the owner of the sound approached me. He was a middle-aged Korean who decorated streets. He approached me with a really bright smile. "Hello," he said in a strong voice. The direction I was walking was where the light bulb decorations he was decorating were shining. The surroundings were starting to get darker, but his work actually brightened the atmosphere of the street. As I laughed and chatted with him, we naturally found a place to sit. The middle-aged Korean was proud to say that he had been doing the same thing on this street for a long time. His passion and tenacity never slowed. Then he told me a little history story about Korea, how beautiful art and culture are incorporated into people's daily lives throughout Korea's long history. I was immersed in his story every moment, and before I knew it, I was telling my own story. When I told him about my missing left hand, he made deep eye contact and said, "Everyone has their own special story, right?" His warm words gave me great comfort and courage. I felt as if he wanted to be my friend. That day, we talked about many things without noticing the passage of time. For some reason, my heart warmed as I felt like I had made a new friend, and I still can't forget what he said to me. "Korea will always be your friend." Those words came as a message to me that this country was always ready to welcome me, and I learned the true meaning of hospitality. The next day, while walking down the street, I happened to see a homeless person going down the subway stairs. Anyone could see that he looked dirty, couldn't eat much, and even had trouble walking. Meanwhile, a man followed behind, took out a 50,000 won bill from his wallet, and handed it to the homeless man. He said, "Hey, I dropped the money," and quickly disappeared. Anyone can see that it doesn't look like the homeless person dropped it, but the homeless person just bowed his head and the whole incident passed quietly. While I was traveling on the subway, some young men who looked like young college students greeted me because they knew I was a foreigner. I was so curious about the situation earlier. I asked. The answer that comes back is, "Maybe if you just gave it to the homeless person, you wouldn't have received it at all." I think that's what you wanted to convey. Listening to those young people's stories, I was truly moved. I was able to realize how small good deeds can move people's hearts and have great value. Thanks to the frequent encounters with these warm moments during my stay in Korea, my affection for the country has deepened in my heart. From that day on, I began to think more deeply about the warm hearts of Koreans. As my time in Korea passed, I realized how natural and everyday their warmth and consideration was. After some time, an event occurred that was a huge turning point in my life, and gave me many thoughts and changes. I found a group of students who looked like middle school students. and one of them was walking with 2 bags. The crowd seemed natural. For a moment, I thought that bullying still exists in Korea. Then, I saw a scene where a group of people who bought ice cream at the supermarket took the ice cream off a student who was not wearing a bag. For a moment, I thought that this kid was the best at fighting out of the group, but my mind was shocked as if I had been hit with a hammer. Just like me, I thought that he had trouble with one hand from a young age, and he had one arm worse than me. Although I was uncomfortable, I also felt sorry and tried to come up to the child and offer some comfort, but the child's answer shocked me once again. "I'm fine, really, I just need to take my time and do it more slowly than others. You must have lived a hard life longer than me." "That's amazing," he said with a smile. At that moment, I was deeply moved by the thought that a child much younger than me might have greater courage and positivity than I did. Also, I was able to feel the warm spirit of cooperation that Koreans have, as I saw the friends around me naturally helping the child. This little episode is just one of the many warm moments I experienced in Korea, but I can't forget their hearts, which were as warm as the Korean weather. So, I ended my journey in Korea and returned home with many emotions. Korea was more than just a travel destination. Their sincere consideration and warmth, beyond simple kindness, will always remain in my memory. The people and stories I met here were a major turning point in my life, and opened up a new perspective for me. Looking out the window on the return flight, I promised myself that I would definitely visit Korea again someday. The country of Korea and its people remained a source of true comfort and courage to me. I encourage you to experience the beautiful and warm side of Korea someday. Thank you for watching. Likes, comments, subscriptions, and notifications in video production is of great help. Thank you.